A very welcome to all of you. So the idea behind this panel discussion is about 3 years of GST and expectations. तो अभी तक हम लोगों ने 3 years में जो GST की जर्नी देखी है उसमें it is the biggest tax reform which has taken place in India, which is famous for its democracy. It was a very difficult decision which could be implemented into India, but it has got success somehow. And now it's been 3 years. So the idea behind implementation of GST was one nation, one tax. And the stakeholders which are there behind this GST is government, professionals, and taxpayers. So the discussion will be rolling around this government, taxpayers, and professionals, how the life of taxpayers is being affected due to this GST, and further how the life of professional is being affected. So I'll be taking the name of the panelist for the purpose of taking the questions which are on the board. So the first question is to Bimal Jain sir. The first question is that how the journey of GST has been for the government when we see it through the spectacles of the revenue, how it has been so far now. Over to you, sir.
If frankly, if I say this point, then this is roller coaster ride for both, for government and for the taxpayer. Why I'm saying roller coaster? That when GST got introduced, initially we envisaged that this GST going to add 2% incremental GDP growth. And thereby expectation was that the GST will also increase the government revenue for both central government and state government. And for the taxpayer, GST got introduced with a big hope that we will have one nation, one tax, and multiplicity of taxes will go away, cascading will not be there, double taxation will not be there. But if you look at the journey last 3 years, then I'm of the opinion, and I do agree my participants, those who are watching this particular, spatial episode, that 3 years is a roller coaster for both, for government and for the taxpayer. Let me give you some region of what? Even government, when they introduced GST, they were virtually not ready. Their infrastructure was not ready. Their common portal was not ready. You can take the basic example, leave all technicalities, that when we started GST, we initially thought of that we would be having 3 return, GSTR1, which is outward supply, GSTR2, which is inward supply, and GSTR3, which is consolidated one. And it was all automized. It was envisaged like this. But we all know about, since July 17, very first month, we have seen how the common portal was. It was not reacting to the need of taxpayer. And even we were not in a position to file GSTR 1, 2, 3 properly. And for that simple reason, GST government, GST authority and government has to take back GSTR 2 and GSTR 3. It is done away with. And in that process, we are only filing GSTR 1. And then we got new consolidated GSTR 3B in lieu of GSTR 3. And you'd be knowing this government, the way they have, introduced GST law in the country. They're the dispute horizon for time limit to avail credit only on the point, what is the last date to avail credit for a particular financial year. When we go back to section 16, subsection 4, it talks about the due date of September following the end of financial year for furnishing return under section 39. Law is saying the return under section 39 would be GSTR 3, but by way of rule 61, sub-rule 5, they introduced GSTR 3B, and it has gone to the court, and Honorable Gujarat High Court has said GSTR 3B is not a return under section 39. So you just look at the preparation, the kind of preparation government has done in terms of common portal, in terms of law introduced in the country, and you have seen many examples. Once Gujarat High Court has said GSTR 3B is not a return under section 39, retrospective amendment. Now by retrospective amendment, we are saying now GSTR 3B is going to be returned under section 39. So look at from the government perspective, when they were not ready, when GSTR 2 and 3 is being withdrawn, and since beginning of GST, the kind of preparation we were having for introduction of GST in the country. So from government side, when they were not ready, and in a process, they have to change the law lot many times, so many circular, notification, and even when we talk about one nation, one tax, even government is struggling with one advanced ruling authority to another advanced ruling authority. So realistic way, when you look at GST from even government perspective, I'm finding challenges between central government and state government. Kind of synergy need to be created. If the synergy is not there for the ease of business, how come one can say that GST got successful in the country? Like one interest to be paid whether on gross tax liability or net tax liability. You know, proviso got inserted long time back, 2019, but yet to be effective that interest to be charged only on net tax liability. Central government has introduced the proviso in the CGST law. State government yet to introduce, yet to provide the effective provision under section 50 subsection 1. When synergy missing between central and state government, how one can expect even from the government side, GST council, I know autonomous body, central and state coming forward deciding all the subject matter. Up till 40th GST council meeting, everything is decided by way of consensus except lottery, GST rate on lottery. But when we want to see the law should be easing the business, providing the simplicity. And in that process, even I'm finding the synergy between central and state, not to that level where we can really make GST good and simple tax. This is the first question. So let me take it further. This is my answer from government perspective, how GST after 3 years, to me, it's a roller coaster.
Okay, so my next question would be to Jatin sir, Jatin Christopher sir. So sir, GST Council rightly said कि वहाँ पर जो भी decisions अभी तक हो रहे हैं सारे के सारे consensus से हुए हैं except the tax rate on lotteries. तो GST काउंसिल का जो रोल है वो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनली डिफाइंड है अभी तक कि उनको क्या करना है, लेकिन जब हम लोग ट्रांजिशनल क्रेडिट की बात करते हैं तो वहाँ पे जो भी टेक्निकल ग्लिचेस हो रहे हैं उसके लिए जीएसटी काउंसिल में जाकर टैक्स पेयर्स को रिपोर्ट करना पड़ रहा है, उनके आईटी ग्लिचेस जो है वो ठीक हुए या नहीं है उनके ऊपर उनको बात करनी पड़ रही है, या फिर राइटली सेड बाय द बिमल सर दैट जो जीएसटी काउंसिल ने डिसाइड कर दिया उसको फिर उन लोगों को डिसीजन को इम्प्लीमेंट करने में इतना टाइम लग रहा है. So what is the ideal role of GST Council and how it has met the expectation? Over to you, sir.
All right. GST Council should not unnecessarily interact with the trade and industry. It is nice that they are entertaining representations, but GST Council is a internal review and decision making body between center and states. A decision that is suitable for one state may be adverse for another state. GST Council is that forum where these internal decisions need to be taken. The requirement for a GST Council decision in order to notify rates, in order to notify exemptions, in order to notify amendments to the law is only a control mechanism to prevent states from implementing their own version of GST law. Ultimately, we must not have different version of the same software, isn't it? So GST Council is unnecessarily entertaining representations from trade bodies in the name of stakeholder consensus. So they are doing more of a public relation exercise by opening their doors for representation. They need to only let the respective states and the center bring forth any representations of the citizens and see if, for example, if there is a state which gets a representation that transition credit time limit should be extended, the state must keep the overall considerations in mind and refuse to forward this agenda item to the council, or it must back it up. saying that I am a sponsorer for this agenda item because I believe taxpayers' interests are not taken care of, and the state should put forward this agenda item for the council. So I think council is somewhat getting mixed up in law-making role with public relation role. And I think council should focus on internal discussions to build consensus and then send the decisions for notification or amendment in the law.
Thank you, sir. So my next question would be to Jatin Harjai, sir. So the question is, we have talked from the perspective of government, how the GST has been, and as rightly said by Bimal Jain, sir, that it is a roller coaster ride. So would you like to throw some light on how the journey has been specifically from the perspective of revenue to the government? And another question would be that taxpayers के साथ में hand holding जो है GST की अभी तक कैसी रही है? Over to you.
So as far as government revenue is concerned, my understanding is we all know that government has fixed up a benchmark kind of thing, may not be official, but 1 lakh crore monthly collection was there. It was fixed at the initial inception. But as I discussed even in fact 2017 with couple of officers, we done some kind of a statistical working. Even that was a underestimation, kind of like actually the projection with regard to previous, looking to the previous collections, it should be somewhere 1,10,000 or 1,15,000 crore at that point of time. And we all know that center are bound to give a 14% increment, annual increment in the taxes. This is like whatever if there is something less, then central government will compensate through compensation cess. And that compensation cess is also included in the collection figure, whatever we are having 1 lakh crore, 90,000 crore, 1,10,000 crore, whatever we get to know. So even today, that is after 3 years, if you add on 14% every year, which growth should at least be there. So even today, we are not at an average of 1 lakh crore. And now there is a corona situation that will deteriorate the situation tremendously. So that is the reason that state governments are struggling to get their maybe cake in the form of compensation cess. So it's actually a very, very poor situation from more specifically from the state governments as well, because now they are having very, very limited resources when their own taxes are not there in ambit. Coming to the second question from your side, which is from taxpayers' point of view. So Bimalji has already covered some of the aspects, so I will not repeat those. So but just wanted to comment from maybe taxpayer as a whole side. We all know the government has given a tagline, one nation, one tax. But just recollect, there was third word was also added to it. That was one nation, one tax, one market. So I'll say this one market is showing so many things, which is actually GST has done. So if we divide our taxpayer from in the two parts, number one is maybe a corporate or a maybe multi-locational or maybe a diversified assessees. Second is a SME assessees, which works in a maybe a small area or on a small turnover type. So if I look from the corporate assessee or diversified or multi-locational assessees, maybe including foreign companies who are now trying to come to India. So from those point of view, I would say this is like a Amrit, this GST. क्योंकि मैंने खुद ने जो एक्सपीरियंस किया इन द ईयर 2014-15, कुछ हमारे ऐसे क्लाइंट भी थे जिन्होंने इवन प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च कर दिया इंडिया में. उस प्रोडक्ट लॉन्चिंग के बाद भी जब उन्होंने रेट फिक्सेशन और सारी एक्सरसाइज किया आफ्टर दे वाइंड अप फ्रॉम द इंडिया. रीजन बीइंग क्योंकि वो इतना वर्कआउट करने के लिए हालत में नहीं थी, क्योंकि डिफरेंट टाइप की एंटी टैक्स वाज वन ऑफ द बिगेस्ट इशू. उस टाइम पर तो डिसीजन भी नहीं हुए थे एंटी टैक्स. इट वाज लाइक अल्ट्रा वायरस बाय द दिनेश पाउचेस, वी ऑल नो. सो बहुत सारे इश्यूज थे जो कि इस जीएसटी की वजह से रिजॉल्व हुए हैं फ्रॉम अ कॉर्पोरेट एंगल. दैट मींस जब वन मार्केट कहते हैं, आज की डेट में एक कंपनी जो इंडिया में इन्वेस्ट करना चाह रही है वो सोच सकती है इंडिया को एक मार्केट, क्योंकि एक तरह का लॉ पढ़ना है उनको. सो दिस इज फ्रॉम द कॉर्पोरेट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, corporate assessee. From the smaller assessee point of view, maybe small and medium sector, I would say कि इसने बहुत ही कियोस्क खड़ा किया है उसने उसके लिए. Maybe just a simple example, एक जो होलसेलर या एक रिटेलर जो डीलर जो स्मॉल सेक्टर का होता था, वो हमारे यहाँ पर राजस्थान में सिर्फ एक क्वार्टर में एक रिटर्न फाइल करता था. एक रिटर्न, ओनली वन. सो साल में 5 रिटर्न फाइल करता था. और सर्विस प्रोवाइडर जो थे, लेट्स से चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट फॉर अस, ऑल ऑफ अस, 6 महीने में एक रिटर्न उनका फाइल होता था. और आज की डेट में क्या सिचुएशन है, वी ऑल नो. सो ये, और दैट टू आई बिलीव एट टाइम्स सपोर्ट जो है हमें पोर्टल से प्रॉपरली नहीं मिल पा रहा है. सो इन सारी चीजों को देखते हुए जब मैं दो पार्ट में टैक्स पेयर्स को डिवाइड करता हूं, वन इज द लार्ज एंड कॉर्पोरेट टैक्स पेयर्स. फॉर दोज आई बिलीव वहां उनके भी कई सारे इश्यूज हैं, बट ऑल इन ऑल उनको सारा कुछ ना कुछ जीएसटी से फेवर करूंगा, पॉजिटिव उनके लिए रहा. बट ऑन द अदर हैंड एसएमईज के लिए बात करता हूं तो इवन अपार्ट फ्रॉम देयर केमिस्ट्री जो उनका मार्केट रिड्यूस हो गया, जिसमें मैं अभी एंटर नहीं कर रहा हूं, कंप्लायंसेस ही उनके लिए एक बड़ा इशू क्रिएट हो गया. So this is what summary from my side for taxpayers.
Okay, sir. So the next question would be that सर ने अभी जो हाईलाइट किया टैक्स पेयर्स के हिसाब से कि कॉर्पोरेट्स और एसएमईज हैं, लेकिन हम लोग अगर वर्किंग के हिसाब से अगर हम लोग सेक्टर को डिवाइड करने जाए तो देयर आर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग सेक्टर, सर्विस सेक्टर एंड ट्रेडिंग सेक्टर. सो माय क्वेश्चन इज टू मिस्टर बिमल जैन सर. सो द थिंग इज कि सर्विस सेक्टर के लिए जीएसटी अभी तक कैसा रहा है और सर्विस सेक्टर में लोगों का एक्सपीरियंस कैसा है और कैसे जीएसटी ने इसको बेनिफिट दिया है?
नेहा, आपका क्वेश्चन बहुत अच्छा है, बट ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड वन थिंग. Service sector used to file only 2 half-yearly return, service tax return. And only problem with the service sector was that they were not getting VAT credit, value-added tax credit or CST credit, which is now subsumed in GST. Now you're getting credit on all supply, inward supply of goods and services, except under section 17, subsection 5. Let me tell you how the service sector beginning is and how it has got twisted, and then we are getting certain benefit and still certain problems still existing today as on date. Now, let me take the example when we started. Initially, under service tax, threshold limit was 9 lakh rupees when registration was required, 10 lakh rupees when service tax need to be charged. In GST, threshold was 20 lakh rupees. But there was one rider that if you do any interstate, then you have to take compulsory registration. So we started crying on day one that I'm a fresh new chartered accountant. My turnover is only 2 lakh rupees. Only 500 rupees I have done interstate supply. Do I require to take registration? And this question we have raised to the level of revenue secretary, I'm telling you. And even for this interstate of 500 rupees, there was compulsory registration. Look at the mindset of lawmaker and the person at the ground level, those who are implementing the law, including the taxpayer. We were representing the subject matter for the service sector, sir. Initially, he was supposed to file only 2 half-yearly returns. Now his turnover is only 2 lakh rupees with 500 rupees only for interstate. You want him to take registration. In the beginning, it was Investas GSTR 1, 2, and 3 per month. So 36 return we were referring for the service sector when we started our GST journey. Fortunately, we are left with only GSTR 1 and 3B. But look at the registration aspect. On 13th October 2017, government could understand that for service sector, this provision is ridiculous, that if he is doing interstate, he has to take compulsory registration. Then they have done away with this particular clause and make that if your aggregate turnover is less than 20 lakh rupees, whether you do intra or inter, you need not require to take registration. Well appreciated. Everything is well appreciated from service sector perspective. Now the cascading should to certain extent gone, like VAT, like CST. So those things are gone, and now only written is GSTR 1 and 3B. But look at service sector, those are small service sector. Small service sector means their turnover may be 22 lakh rupees, maybe 25 lakh rupees, maybe 30 lakh rupees. They can't afford to get services of professional. They have to really file their own GSTR 1 and 3B. And I can really tell you, if you look at 3 years of handholding of GST, I'm still amazed that you will find a lot of small taxpayer in service sector. They are not equipped to file their own GSTR 1 and 3B. They struggle where to put what number. Even for the export of services, you must have experience in the initial days that table 3.1b of GSTR 3B need to be filled up, and that to be matched with the table 6 of GSTR 1. Such kind of, fine-tuned table filling up for small taxpayer. I'm saying that from handholding perspective, I'm also finding they're lacking in terms of preparation of small taxpayer. They may be service sector, they may be trader, anyone like. And for that reason, we are finding there are lot many taxpayers who are not filing their GSTR 3B, not filing. And for that only this 40th GST Council meeting has recommended that no late fees if the nil tax liability and 500 rupees capping per return in case you are having tax liability. No, now look at the irony. If you are from a service sector and for any region you have not filed your GSTR 3B, that too for a period July 17 to January 2020, I'm referring to, only late fees capping and waiver is there. What about their inward supply credit? You have not educated them. You haven't told them. And even the confusion of GSTR 3B is a return under section 39. So that what is the time limit? Dispute of getting on date of annual return. So I'm saying that even for service sector, there are lot many points which you can invest at. Even if you do interplay of what? Registration provision, place of supply provision, and the credit provision. There are lot many things which is very much crystal clear. Being a works contractor, you are Jaipur registered, getting contract in Karnataka, you may not require to take registration in Karnataka. And these are lot many things within the GST law. I'm not going into integrity and GST technical, but trying to say, yes, service sector has got some benefit, cascading gone. But at the same time, if you look at starting from aggregate turnover, then going forward with the filing of GSTR 1 and 3B, then we are talking about the transitional credit, lot many things where we are finding the synergy, the kind of positivity, and which we are referring as a positive void, the service sector, which is 60% of GDP. Had it been taken care of properly, I can bet that our tax collection, which is lacking, will definitely improve.
Thank you, sir. Very well answered. Now the question is to Jatin Christopher, sir. Sir, GST law was formulated majorly as technology driven. We are so far talking about technology only, GSTR 1, 2, and 3, and now 3B. So how well the technology has supported the implementation of GST, because the whole technology was into the hands of GSTN. So now how they have supported the GST so far? Over to you, sir.
See, as far as technology is concerned, there was a strategic failure. There was a strategic failure in rolling out technology for the reason that only after a form is notified is it taken up for development. It looks like unless the form is notified, they are not even in a position to develop the software. So between notification of the form and its utility being available on the portal, there is a very large interval of time. And whenever a form is notified, a taxpayer is entitled to object, raise questions, represent what changes are needed. If you notice 99C, not a single table was changed. The headings were modified, some corrections were made. Wherever the taxpayer said, I'm not in a position to provide data, he was allowed an option not to file the data. It is not that the table was actually modified to say, this new suggestion from the trade has been taken into consideration and a table has been revised. No revision has been done, whether it is table 1718 or table number 8 or table number 14 in 9C, no tables have changed. So I feel there was a strategic failure. And if you talk to government authorities, they will also agree that they started to build the ship after setting out in the sea.
Yes.
Once they set out in the sea on the voyage, they started to construct the ship in the journey. So this, I think, was a strategic failure. I'm sure there are other ways in which things can be built, even with private sector participation, even with GSTN as a separate entity, to build everything, have exposure drafts, get inputs. There is no secret here. We are not doing any national security project here. Nothing is, this is just a tax compliance module. What is the problem in publishing what thinking government has? Get all the feedback. Now what happens? The strategic failure, the second point I'm telling you is there was lack of democracy in authorship. If all of us get together and all our names are written as the author of this book, then all of us will go and say nice things about this book. But if Nehaji only says it is her book, then when I am reading, I have a inherent human nature to see where Nehaji has made mistake. The Nehaji may have spent lot of effort and thoroughly prepared this book, but I will look with eyes of suspicion to find a fault. Today, if you see taxpayer attitude is in a fault finding mode. Now we have got on to two sides of the game. We all have to play in the same team. Government is in the same team, taxpayer is in the same team, professional is in the same team. We are not in opposite teams trying to prove the other person wrong. That is the second strategic failure, where there is no consensus building, sharing authorship of all these compliance returns and forms. The third is we went for the ultimate in day one. There is no need to do. You have, I mean, GST is going to remain long after we are all retired also from profession. That is the life of GST. It is such a significant reform. So therefore, there is no need to do such a big bang in such a hurry. Take it step by step. Revenue will increase. Once you identify strategically what do you want to achieve in 3 years, in 5 years, in 8 years, in 10 years, it becomes more palatable for trade. So I think from an overall implementation point of view, there have been more strategic failures rather than forms and software and the choice of the tools and the way it has to, the data flow, workflow integrity, etc. Those are all matters of procedure. Strategic failure in implementation of software is what my assessment is.
Okay, thank you, sir. The next question will be to Jatin Harzai, sir. The point is, as rightly said by Jatin Christopher, sir, that there are various gaps in the procedure and the strategy, which was earlier decided and which is implemented on the common portal. So ultimately what happens is taxpayer is the only person or the victim who is suffering because of all these things. So now taxpayer comes to the professional and asks that what should be done and how one should go about it. So many times, many decisions have to be taken looking to the common portal and procedure. Procedure is saying something else and the common portal is doing something else. So how the professional should go about it and how it should be handled. Over to you, sir. I think you are mute. You are on mute.
Oh, yes. First of all, I'll take it this question as an extended arm of what you posed before Jatinji. And I just recollected one of the aspect which he said, and very well said. If you recollect what happened in 2016, even before enactment of the act, we had the draft rules. Why so? So that the system should be in a place by the time we are supposed to implement this law. So why not today also, what is there in the mind of the government should be given in a black and white to the at least GSTN team or maybe whatever, whosoever is developing, can be one of the takeaways from his side, so that we are in a better situation to handle, maybe we all are in a better situation to handle it. Now coming to your specific question of how the professional or a taxpayer should handle, because so many gaps are there in the system, maybe law-driven system, or we can say I heard Bimalji at the inception, he used to say GST and Baba. So the law of GST and Baba and what is actually the GST law. For example, maybe for taking a refund, as per law, there is no necessity that a registered person is only the person who will claim the refund. But as per GSTN, you will not be able to file the application if you are not registered. So now, whatever type of things you will face before that system is posing a challenge before you, or a GSTN is posing a challenge before you. So first of all, I would suggest that you should represent these things to the concerned stakeholders, maybe your state government, central government, respective commissionerate. first of all, on a very first note, one should represent to them. I'm sure it's not that easy कि वो immediately आपका redress हो जाएगी या चीजें खत्म हो जाएंगी, but ये भी quite possible है कि उनको पता ही नहीं हो ये चीजें. So एक बार उनके notice में डालिए. Maybe you can give some reminders and can send this to CPIC or the board or maybe secretariat, state secretariat. ये चीजें 2 या 3 try at least इसका करना चाहिए. But at all अगर इसका कोई solution नहीं है, अगर आपको लगता है इस चीज का solution नहीं मिल रहा, जबकि ये चीजें होना चाहिए system के ऊपर, मतलब system इस तरीके से perform करना चाहिए. There are so many things. So उन situations में आके, for example, जैसे आज की डेट में अगर मैं एक और example लूं, किसी के पास funds available नहीं है और 3B फाइल करना है, तो जीएसटी लॉ ये कहीं नहीं कहता कि आपको पहले टैक्स डिपॉजिट कराना है फिर आप रिटर्न फाइल करना है. Rather, this proposition is very well accepted, discussed within the GST council itself, कि one person can file the return even without depositing the amount as per law, but GSTN doesn't allow it. So now what happens, अगर ऐसी situation आ रही है, तो one has to take these things before the court. That system is GSTN Baba law is actually not the law. It is law of the land which is law. So system has to fall in line, and one has to take a resort to the court route. This is what from my side.
So now we have discussed about this system. Now when we come to the rates of taxes which are there in the GST, earlier it was 4 slab tax rates, that 5%, 12%, 18%, and 28%. Then cess came, and then some less rates were decided. Then 7.5% for real estate, etc. So the idea behind implementation of GST was to have less number of rate of taxes. But by the time GST has developed, we can see that there are various rates which used to be earlier. There are many rates which are there currently in the GST law. So my question is to Bimal Jain sir, that how prudent it is to move towards the less number of rate of taxes in the GST, and looking to this pandemic situation and all, how it can be implemented, or how we can foresee this thing.
Neha, very straightforward answer to your question. See, try to understand, we started not with 5, 12, 18 and 28. We started with the nil rated, 0.1%, 3%, 5%, 12%, 18%, 28%, then compensation cess. Now, initially you must be knowing that there were a lot of hue and cry for the 28% slab. And industry and taxpayer used to come forward and saying 28% GST rate is too high a rate. And you have seen over a period of time, almost 230 products are being taken out from 28% slab and made either under 18% or 12%. Now, if you look at the prudent way that could have been, I do agree what the government has done. They have done mathematics gimmicks. So what they have done, they have looked at the taxation rate pre-GST and put that product and services in appropriate rate of 5, 12, 18, 28, wherever applicable. That is what the mathematics they have done, but they have never envisaged. And I can tell you from the income tax experience also, and the indirect tax experience also, if your rate is reasonable and at a lower rate, you will get more taxpayer coming forward and discharging their GST liability. During this pandemic, COVID-19 is not the right time period. I am not saying that we should look at the rate at this during COVID-19 time period. But definitely, when we were discussing this subject matter with the ex-finance minister, late Arun Jaitley ji, he has made the comment that this 5-tier rate need to be merged into 2-tier rate or 3-tier rate. And that discussion is going on even after 1 year of introduction of GST in the country. So when this merging of 5-tier rate we are talking about, I'm of the view, which is in my humble opinion, if rate is higher, then I really find tax evaders are there. And as on date, a lot of bogus invoices, lot of credit taken on bogus invoices without supply of goods or services. I'm of the opinion government must look into very sincerely that how this 5-tier rate can be merged into 2-tier or 3-tier rate. That would be the better way to see the future, first part. And second part, I'm just taking input from both Jatin Hajaiji and Jatin Christopher, that you need to really start into inviting trade chambers, trade members to be part of legislation change or any kind of change which is coming in a GST, if you invite the trade members to participate in any decision making, then I can tell you they would be first accountable and responsible because they are ultimately party for the changes made in GST law. What government is doing for last 3 years, they are doing it from their own side and trying to bring a lot many changes in the name of ease of business. And they're saying we are trying our best, and they're making lot many changes after changes, complicating the law. When GST Council is deciding something, why can't they invite, maybe they can pick up 5, 6, 10 chambers, invite the trade members, and they would be participating in such decision making so that any input which is required from the trade can be given immediately, so that ultimate objective of making trade satisfied, making trade that this is ease of business, trade friendly measure, that will come into the picture. In terms of rate, my suggestion and submission would be that 2-tier or 3-tier rate would be the reasonable one to settle for 5 years to come or 10 years to come. But this is not the right time period for changing in GST rate.
Thank you, sir. We have discussed about the tax rate. So the another aspect which is linked with the tax rate is classification of goods and services. So in excise, the dispute used to be for the schedules, under which schedule or under which heading the under which chapter the one thing or one good should go. So now in GST, both this goods and services has come at par, but how this classification is going to affect the fate of GST, as there are various advance rulings which are contrary to each other. So it creates a hue and cry among the industry stakeholders. So this question is to Jatin Christopher, sir. Over to you, sir.
A classification will always create a hue and cry, not because there is confusion, but there are opposing interests. Taxpayer wants to find a classification that will yield the least tax. Tax authorities, and rightly so, want to explore an interpretation that yields the highest rate of tax. There is also the concept in economics that if the rates, which Vimalji mentioned, if the rates are moderate, compliance will be high. But if rates are high, revenue collection will also be high initially. So therefore, we cannot fault the classification system. We should look at what is the incentive to fight, take away that incentive. If you take away the incentive to litigate, then you may have fewer and fewer reasons for people to come forward to litigate. Second aspect to look at is the classification system that we have today, mind you, is the result of the experiment conducted in customs in 1975. We have taken over 40 years to arrive at this level of customization that suits our requirements. So I don't think we should treat our classification as flawed. Our classification methodology is fine. But if you look at the way the interpretations are coming out, please bear in mind, taxpayer knows both the classification, but he wants to canvass an interpretation to see whether it is possible. You look at what is happening. Interest is payable on the gross tax liability, very clearly written in the law. Parliament has passed this law. Parliament knows the hardship, but still Parliament decided. Parliament is not government. Parliament is you and me. Our own representatives are sitting there. They passed this law. With eyes open, this law was passed. But today, we are propagating the idea that it is a retrograde step. See, if interest is high, penalty will be low. When interest is high, penalty will be low. You know, in service tax and central excise, penalty would always be 100%. But today, if you see, under 7310, you can get away with the penalty. Under 7410, you have a very low amount of penalty. So therefore, high interest takes away discretion. When discretion goes away, corruption goes away. So there is a policy thinking. It goes back to the point, I think, where we all sort of come to say similar things in different ways. There is a enormous secrecy in the government thinking. If government says what they want to do, we will draft a law and tell you how to do it. It is not very difficult. Vimalji will sit there and draft what should be the section 16 that is most efficient and most appropriate. If the government tells कि उनको करना क्या है, वो सोचते कुछ है, बताते half और लिख के भेज देते after enactment. This secrecy ये सारे confusion का जड़ है. If you publish a draft, get views, then all of us have created that law. Therefore, few only will complain. The ones who will complain are the ones who are sleeping.
Yes, yes.
So therefore, democratize GST, get everyone in the same team. We'll all collaborate. Maybe there will be initial confusion, but I think like today you have organized this call. We can fight among ourselves, debate, finally give 2 recommendations, not 20. 2 we will give. So this once this potential confusion is eliminated, I think implementation will be very smooth.
Thank you, sir. So now the hot cake which is prevailing in the country as a whole is transitional credit. So nowadays people are running after transitional credit. Some of them have missed filing the form. Some of them could not file because of the system problem, or some of them even could not even try to file the form. But looking to the judgments which are into place, they are trying to file or they are trying to claim the credit, and they are claiming that that is their property in terms of the Article 300A of the Constitution of India. So looking to the brand equity, which is passed by Honorable Delhi High Court, Chogle Industries again passed by the Delhi High Court but confirmed by the Supreme Court, and that Advert Technologies and then Amba Industrial Corporation by the Punjab High Court. So what is the fate of transitional credit? This question is to Jatin Harjai.
See, I would say this is a more hotcake among professionals than business now. But see, discussion on transitional credit and deliberating it on may require another at least 15 to 20 minutes time. So I will not do that. Rather, what should be done, I'll say that. One minor correction, that neither Advert nor Chogle was confirmed by the Supreme Court. The SLP was rejected. So this is a settled principle of law that once it is primarily SLP is not accepted or are rejected on basic grounds, in that case it is not said that it is a view of the Supreme Court. Though that particular case has been finalized, that has been rest, we can say this thing only, but not for others. One, so we cannot take as a precedent in that. And brand equity, as we all know, that has been stayed by the Honorable Supreme Court. So, but from the taxpayer point of view, I will say one thing, that in my humble opinion, I always believe it to be a vested right, which has been deliberated by so many judgments, even in this GST era, starting from Siddharth Enterprises, Advert, both of that said ki it is a vested right. Same from the Kolkata also. Unfortunately, Rajasthan went in a other direction. So, but what businessmen should do, जो लोग already litigation में हैं, जो already claim कर चुके हैं, fair enough. I certainly, my belief is more than 80%, 90% chances are there. Finally, they'll get it. Final answer definitely will come from Supreme Court, but my chances, if someone asks me what you say about the positive chances, I will say more than 80% chances are there that they will finally get the credit in most of the situations. Now coming back कि अगर आज की डेट में भी किसी ने क्लेम नहीं किया तो क्या होने वाला है? For example, या रॉन्ग क्लेम, बहुत तरीके डिफरेंट तरीके के क्वेश्चन एसएससी सामने आए, जिन्होंने गलत क्लेम कर दिया, मे बी एस का सी में क्लेम कर दिया, सी का एस में कर दिया, या था ही खाली सी का उसको एस में क्लेम कर दिया, समथिंग लाइक दिस. कुछ ने टेबल में गलत भर दिया, उनके साथ ये सिचुएशन आ रही है. रिसेंटली वन ऑफ द केस कि जिसमें कि आपने फॉर्म फिल कर दिया बट वो सबमिट वाला बटन होता है वो दबने से रह गया. दैट मींस ही हैज एसएससी हैज एन एविडेंस कि उसने ट्राई किया था बट वो सबमिट नहीं हो पाया बाय व्हाटसोएवर रीजन. अब वो कंप्यूटर की गलती थी या व्हाटसोएवर. सो जो लोग भी आज की डेट में अपना क्लेम नहीं कर पाए, आई विल सजेस्ट वन थिंग, एज अर्ली एज पॉसिबल फाइल अ क्लेम. एटलीस्ट अपनी तरफ से रिप्रेजेंट कीजिए कि सबमिट कीजिए कि मुझे मेरा ये क्रेडिट छूट गया था लेने से, देयर आर plethora of judgments are there, give their citations. अगर अमाउंट ज्यादा है, अगर अमाउंट स्टेक ज्यादा है, I'll simultaneously suggest file a writ petition as well. तो क्यों में आ जाइए, because at times it happens, I witnessed this, कि कई बार जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट का फाइनली जजमेंट आता है वो ओनली एंड ओनली पिटिशनर्स के लिए आता है. सो दोनों तरीके से आ सकता है, सब पूरी पब्लिक के लिए भी आ सकता है, जैसे कि ब्रांड इक्विटी में हुआ वो सबके लिए आया. लेकिन हमारा बहुत अच्छा ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस है, खासतौर से एंट्री टैक्स में, आई एम श्योर बाकी लोग भी एग्री करेंगे मेरे से, पिटिशनर स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ्स आए थे. सो अगर अमाउंट रीजनेबली हाई है या आपको लगता है सिग्निफिकेंट है, मटेरियल है, I'll definitely say apart from claiming it before department, also simultaneously go before courts and file a writ petition also.
Thank you, sir. So another aspect which is there for discussion is anti-profiteering. So when it comes to anti-profiteering, there is no sunset clause as mentioned in the law. So ये कितना सही है कि 3 साल होने के बाद भी ये एंटी-प्रॉफिटेरिंग क्लॉज जो है वो कंटिन्यू कर रहा है, एंड देन टैक्सपेयर्स हैव टू स्क्रॉल देयर फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट जस्ट टू जस्टिफाई दैट whether benefit has been passed on or not, or whether the cost was reduced or not. This question is from the Jatin Christopher.
See, anti-profiteering cannot go away. Whenever there is a rate change, the proper officer can do an investigation whether there was profiteering or not, because Section 76 provides that if in the name of tax any amount is collected, there is no time limit also, 76(2), for the government to come and recover, unlike 73 and 74. Point number 2, National Anti-Profiteering Authority is sufficiently empowered so that it does not seem like a clerical or administrative review of profiteering conducted by a departmental authority. A sufficiently high-ranking body will look into profiteering matters, carry out principles of natural justice to reach a determination whether there is profiteering or not. So therefore, I don't find anything amiss as far as this law is concerned. And if it is to protect the interest of a common public, ultimately all GST will be loaded onto the end consumer. So therefore, a body like that, I don't find anything wrong. The issue with the way NA is going about is one formula for all. That is flawed. There cannot be one formula for all, and it is so complicated to calculate profiteering. Any formula anybody uses, you can find mistakes in it, because you can never have a one formula. Third, this valuation mechanism is not something that is being done in India for the first time. India has wonderful experience in customs valuation, how to do valuation. Most of our current valuation rules also contains wonderful principles to her, where it allows the necessary extent of rigidity of law along with the necessary extent of flexibility to accommodate non-standard industries in arriving at a acceptable valuation. So I think the authority, I would definitely support that, but the one fits all formula that is being used, I think is definitely a retrograde. It needs to be attended immediately.
Thank you so much, sir. So far, we have discussed about the government, taxpayers, professionals, and then various aspects which are going into GST. So we are exceeding time. So the point is, I'll request Bimal Jain sir to give his conclusive comments on 3 years journey of GST, followed by Jatin Christopher sir and Jatin Harjai sir.
In very simplistic way, as I said, roller coaster ride for both government and taxpayer. I can just say in one word that GST got introduced with a big hope, and it's the biggest indirect tax reform in the country after independence. We should not lose hope on success of GST. Only point is that we all need to come together and make sure this GST is getting ultimate objective for that it is introduced in the country. What is required? Synergy. What is required? Participation. What is required? Contribution. There are two sides. One is the tax department, another one is the taxpayer. We both need to come together. When law is being drafted, government must look at the participation of trade chambers so that they can give their views and suggestions, so that tomorrow when law getting introduced, it is not debated why this law got introduced. I do agree that Parliament passed the law and they are our representative, but you will agree with me, they are only passing the law, but they do not know that interest is going to be applicable on gross tax liability. They come to know only when law get drafted by the bureaucrats. One-sided law is being made where participation from the trade members is not there. So what we require, collective participation coming from both sides, tax department and the taxpayer. Second, we need to be positive in the mindset that GST is the biggest indirect tax reform. It's an initial teething problem for all of us together. I do agree this common portal strategic failure is there. They are trying to evolve and developing themselves step by steps. But we need to give some time to both parties, to government and to the taxpayer as well. And for that, we really need to understand if taxpayer needing some advantage, it must be given with open mindset. It should not be in a way that as if I'm doing some favor for the taxpayer. Should not be. And we must understand when government is doing many changes, it is only to provide ease of business, not to complicate the law. But in this process, we have to understand each other. And last concluding remarks would be that nothing is wrong if we really understand today, and we can start taking corrective measures now. So मैं तो एक चीज जानता हूँ, अगर गलती हुई है मान लेना चाहिए, और गलती मान ली और वहां से हमने सही रास्ते पे चलना स्टार्ट किया तो मैंने गलती की नहीं थी. Let's start to make GST good success for all of us.
All right, about my thoughts on GST, considering how horrible the earlier tax regime in compliance and administration was, GST is a wonderful step. Having entered such a wonderful new law, we are only complaining about some of the methodologies, some of the procedures, the tools, etc. But looking back, I definitely don't want to go back and have to deal with all the things that we have dealt with under the earlier tax regime. So definitely, this is a wonderful piece of legislation. The next aspect is, if there can be democratization of lawmaking and policy formulation, I think GST will do such wonders for the country in terms of ease of doing business, compliance, growth of revenue, that we'll all collectively benefit. Third is, this law is so simple that it is unforgiving to those who sleep. We have all got used to sleeping and rectifying after 1 year, 1.5 years, 2 years, when the last date arrives. Last date also we want extension. This law does not entertain those who are not diligent about compliance. So with that, if we accept that this is the new standard that India needs to grow as a superpower in this part of the world, I think we should all reset our minds. Like Modi ji said, chashme ka number badal gaya hai. We must not use the old spectacles. Wear the new spectacles. I think we will make such wonderful progress. Everyone will benefit. All stakeholders will benefit in this new law.
While consenting with both my friends and panel speakers, this is a new law. Definitely, this is a transformation. So takeaway and going ahead, when I say, so what should be there in the GST? One aspect, what Jatinji said, is democratization, or maybe we can say transparency in decision making. One. Second aspect for going ahead, or maybe making it simplification, which we already discussed, is maybe rate disputes or classification के disputes कम होने चाहिए, जिसके लिए हमें ये rate structure को definitely maybe 2-tier should be the first target, I would say. Specifically mentioning GST का जो cess के classifications है, that's are also very very complicated. So अगर आज की डेट में हम number of total classification में जाएंगे, ये somewhere 43 या 44 classifications तक हम पहुंच जाते हैं. Third aspect, as a conclusive remark, if I recollect excise and service tax regime, तो वहां पर कोई भी मैचिंग का कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं था. GST में day one से it was emphasized that there should be a matching, and I agree with it. Matching is a good concept, but till the time infrastructure is completely ready, till the time your own system is ready, I don't think so कि हम मैचिंग के बिना चल ही नहीं सकते. The things like 36(4) वगैरह का जो आ रहा है, वो उनका बेसिस कहीं ना कहीं मैचिंग ही है, और वो ह्यू एंड क्राई क्रिएट कर रहा है जीएसटी में. जीएसटी में लॉ से ज्यादा अभी तक लोग सिस्टम से परेशान हुए हैं, ये मैं समझता हूं. सो आई बिलीव कि गवर्नमेंट को कहीं ना कहीं ये चीज समझ में आना चाहिए, और मैचिंग कॉन्सेप्ट जब तक उनके खुद के सिस्टम परफेक्टली काम नहीं करें तब तक इंप्लीमेंट नहीं करें, और मे बी ग्रेडेड मैनर में इंप्लीमेंट करें. दिस वुड बी 3 थिंग्स एज अ कंक्लूसिव फ्रॉम माय साइड. So I would say nice preparation, and all questions were good one.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. So, very well noted that GST is a law which should be welcomed by all and should be supported by all. The taxpayers, professionals, and everyone should see this particular law into the positive sense. And it has been implemented into India, and it will find the way for the success which was envisaged into the mind of the taxpayers as well as the professionals and the government. So thank you so much, Bimal sir, for your insightful views on the subject. Thank you so much, Jatin Christopher sir, for the insightful deliberation which you have done. Thank you so much, Jatin Ajay sir. Thank you for being panelists and giving your views on the topics which are still alive. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.